And it would be wrong to turn our back on them saying, I'm not interested in politics. So in Canada, in 2009, Canada-Tibet Committee asked the Dalai Lama a question, direct question. Your Holiness, do you think that the Buddhist students, Buddhist practitioners have responsibility to get involved in the struggle of the Tibetan people? He said, of course. I don't know if we can show it, but we have a video clip of it. So one thing that I always say is not just Buddhist practitioners. I talk to many Tibetan lamas who travel, and I tell the Tibetan lamas on occasions, when you travel the world and give teachings, you have moral responsibility to talk about Tibet. You cannot turn your back on the Tibetan people, because that would be morally wrong. And sometimes, I think, some Tibetan lamas don't want to talk about Tibet. And students also feel that getting involved with the Tibetan cause, somehow it's wrong in the practice. And I think that thinking is totally wrong. And I'm saying this as the Dalai Lama's representative, because I know how His Holiness thinks. And many great lamas, they're very active in Tibetan struggle. So the reason I say this to a Dharma community is sometimes I see, wherever I go, there are some Tibet supporters who are not Buddhists, but they just feel for the Tibetan people, feel for cause, and they're trying very hard. And at the same time, in the same city, there are 4, 5, 6 big Tibetan Buddhist centers with people who practice. They are affluent people, lawyers, doctors, engineers, affluent people. They don't want to get involved. Now, these people have contacts in the politicians and all this, if they all worked on it. That's why I'm saying we really need the support of everybody. So I just wanted to share that with you, because this thinking is very important for the Tibetans, and also His Holiness also feels very strongly about that. Now, the other thing is, I am Dalai Lama's representative for Northern Europe. I'm responsible for 11 countries. So I travel to all these countries. I met many very committed Tibetan friends, and for me it's a luxury. Like even when I come here, I have people like Yanis and all this helping me, take me here and there. I almost feel like I have an extension of Office of Tibet in London here, because if I'm on my own, I'll be lost. I don't know where to go. And it's something similar in many countries like that. And that's because I think these people sincerely believe that in the cause. So the Tibetan struggle has remained a non-violent one. And this is something that I've been saying, because I'm trying to get more support. And so I'm trying to think, how can I get more support? So part of it is, I feel that the peace organizations, peace activists, and I'm sure in Riga there must be many organizations who are peace and peace activists. Because up until now, these two communities have not connected. The Tibetan communities and the peace organizations, they have not connected. I think it makes perfect sense for the two to connect, because peace organizations have very large membership. They have newsletters, they have a large membership. Their interest is to promote peace in the world. So if you really think about it, let's say that you are a peace activist. You believe in peace. How can you promote peace on one hand and ignore people who are practicing peace, the Tibetan community, for example. So I think this is where we have to be a little bit creative, the Tibetans, and we have to start reaching out to the peace organizations, and also to get the peace organizations to look at us, saying that it is in their interest to make sure that the Tibetans prevail. So these are some things that I just wanted to share with you for your food, for thought. And again, you know, we say that everything happens for a reason. And Tibetans talk about le, which is karma. In this lifetime, many of you somehow started taking interest in Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, and you've come into contact with somebody like myself and Lama Super Rinpoche and all these. And you know, it's one of those, in Tibetan we call it le, sona, karma, and all these conditions. Somehow we are in it together. And I think you, as an individual who have come into contact with Tibetan Buddhism and Tibetan, you can do your little bit to help, because today we really need help. We have some support in the members, the parliament in Latvia, but there are a lot more. Perhaps we may have 8, 9 parliament members who are sympathetic or supporters of Tibet, but you have 100 members of parliament. So if Latvian parliament to change, we need at least 20, 30, 40 members of parliament who feel that we must help the Tibetans. We must, because we know what it's like. So like 8, 9 members of parliament won't help. So like His Holiness would be coming this September. Today I made a special request to some of the members of parliament, saying that it would be wonderful if the Latvian parliament will invite His Holiness to address the parliament. He's not going to necessarily talk about politics, but he's going to talk about compassion and warm-heartedness. And we did the same in London. It was wonderful because he hardly talked about Tibet or politics. He talked about warm-heartedness and happiness. And many, many, many members of parliament were very moved. And when they were moved, then they start asking questions. And then they become Tibetan sympathizers. With the same token, I'd like to see if His Holiness was given an opportunity in the Latvian parliament to speak. I'm sure we could get at least 10, 20 more parliamentarians to be Tibet supporters. And then perhaps things could change. Our ultimate goal is to see 3 countries in the Baltic come together and do something for Tibet. Because today most of the countries shy away supporting Tibet because they don't want to make China angry. They don't want to antagonize China. But I think the Baltic countries are in a unique position because right now, first of all, you don't have a big trade going on with China. Number 2, again, most of the people in Baltic remember still clearly what it was like living under foreign occupation. So I think Baltics have a very unique role in the European Union also. So this is, as a Tibetan myself, this has been my, in a way, like a dream. And I shared that with many Tibetan friends, including His Holiness, because my background is engineer. So I think a little different. I think about return on investment. When I do something, I'd like to see return. I don't do things for the sake of doing it. And unfortunately, many Tibetans just do the same thing they've done for the past 20, 30 years. There's a very famous saying from Albert Einstein, who said, those who believe to see a different result by doing the same thing over and over again is a fool. So in some ways, I think Tibet supporters are also doing the same thing. And whenever I meet Tibet supporters, we are always preaching to the converted. In a way, what I'm doing right now. I don't have to tell you because most of you are Tibetan friends. But what I really have to do is find cold audience, Latvians who don't know anything about Tibet, who don't care anything about Tibet, to see if they could feel for the cause. I don't know if I made any sense. Today's been a long day. I've been talking all day. So I'll stop here. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.